Good afternoon, Dave. Here we are again doing this podcast on ancient and modern Israel. We've already covered a section on ancient Israel. Now we're going to talk about modern Israel. With all the controversies surrounding Israel and Palestine, it's time that we all get a better understanding of ancient Israel and modern day Israel. Hi, I'm Ron. We decided to do this podcast because people just don't know what's going on. And they are forming opinions and taking actions without a good understanding of the history of Israel. My guest, Dave Martin, is not only a student at Los Angeles City College, he's also a passionate student about the nation of Israel, and he's also been a Bible teacher on Israel from a biblical perspective. Dave, thanks for joining us today to share the history of ancient and modern day Israel. Let's dive right in. Now we're going to be asking some questions about modern day Israel. What led to the establishment of the modern state of Israel in 1948?
The Holocaust. There was such a great outcry after people discovered what had happened to the Jewish community after 6 million of them were just systematically murdered for no other reason than the fact that they were Jewish. And the outcry was so great, people demanded that something be done, that a Jewish state be established where these people could go and be safe.
How has Israel's political landscape evolved since its founding?
Well, to me it seems like it hasn't really evolved at all. You still have, in one case, you still have the Orthodox community that hates the Messianics because the Messianic Jews believe in Jesus and the Orthodox Jews just totally reject that idea. And it's the Orthodox Jews that basically run the Knesset. Also, something that did change, though, a couple of years ago. Now, it doesn't matter if you're Orthodox or non-Orthodox. All men and women from the age of 18 to 20, I think it's a 2-year period that you have to serve in the IDF. They have to serve now, and that just caused an uproar in the Orthodox community because before in charge of the Knesset, and they manipulated that where they didn't have to serve in the army, but it was changed a couple of years ago. I don't know if it was Netanyahu who instigated the change, but it happened and it caused a big uproar because these people just didn't want to serve. Oh yeah, they didn't mind living in Israel, but they didn't want to serve in the army, to show their patriotism. Just like the Pharisees, right? And the Sadducees. All they want is control. That's all they want. Just like with Jesus, right? Oh man, hey dude, you can't be carrying, or when that guy was healed, oh hey, you can't be carrying your bedroll. Oh, you can't be healing on the Sabbath. Legalism. Just legalism. Taking the scriptures and completely twisting them out of context. And I hate to say it, but the Orthodox community is the same way.
Ray Aguilera received some from the Lord, and the Lord said they wear the same hat and the same pants as the Pharisees and the Sadducees of old. That's what he said.
No, I agree with that.
And he's not too happy about them worshiping the Western Wall. It's like an idol.
Oh. I'm not surprised. You know why? Because they don't worship the God of the Bible. They don't even, I don't even think they read their Bibles. They read all this man-made stuff, you know, that And I've read a lot of that stuff that these so-called rabbis, in the past have written. And I don't even get a lot of it. It's just, to me, it's just ridiculous. I don't know if have you ever read a magazine called Israel, My Glory?
You gave me one.
Okay, well, in the back, the very last article in the magazine is written, or I should say was written, by a man named Zeev, who was a Holocaust survivor, but he was also a Christian, and he was always being confronted by these rabbis and their students. And he was always rebuking them for putting more trust in what man writes than what's found in the Word of God.
Right.
Just like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, right?
Yep.
Took scripture, twisted it all around, put more faith in their own traditions than anything else. And it's the same today, so nothing changes.
So what are the key conflicts and peace efforts in Israel's recent history?
Well, Israel's war for independence in 1948, that lasted about 10 months. And then the war of 1967, or the Six-Day War, where they reunified East Jerusalem with the western half of the city because they lost the eastern half of the city in 1948, and it would remain in the hands of the Jordanians for 19 years. And then the Yom Kippur War. Oh, by the way, Israel's war of 48, their war for independence, and the Six-Day War, and the Yom Kippur War were all headed up by Egypt, except the Yom Kippur War was initialized by Anwar Sadat, who had replaced Gamal Nasser, who led the first two, what do you want to call it, wars? The war for 48 and 67. Well, I don't remember what peace treaties came out of that. I believe they were settled by a UN ceasefire. But Israel, I believe in all those wars, gained more ground than they originally were allocated. In 1947, when the UN wrote up the first partition plan, the Israelis accepted it and the Arabs rejected it, because it goes back to, what do these Arabs really want? They want all of it, not just 40% or 60%. They want all of it, but they don't want a Jewish presence. Yeah, it's all right if Israel's there as an empty nation. Oh, we can put up with that. But when those Jews come back, oh no, we can't have that. Years ago I read that, I don't know who it was that said, it was some Arab leader, right? Said, oh, Israel's a threat to the Middle East. How could, because I think there were 6 million at that time. How can 6 million Jews constitute a threat to 1 billion plus Arabs.
Mhm.
Who's the bigger threat?
Mhm.
Certainly not Israel. It's those 20 Arab nations that surround Israel. They're the threat. Oh, and after the 1967 war, that's when 5 of those Arab nations, or 5 Arab nations got together, and that's when they wrote up the Khartoum Declaration. No peace, recognition, or negotiations with Israel. And it's funny, it took them 19 years to write all that down because they were living that way before 1967. The good thing that came out of the Yom Kippur War is that Anwar Sadat woke up and realized this is not the way to live. So he made peace with Israel, but it came at a great price because he broke the Khartoum resolution. You know, no peace, no negotiation, no recognition of Israel. And his own people murdered him one day when he was attending a military parade. They just pulled up in a truck. Some of the Muslim Brotherhood pulled up in a truck and shot him to death right there. I don't know how long after, because I know him and Menachem Begin shook hands on the White House lawn when Jimmy Carter was president. And you know, Begin did not want to shake his hand. Carter kind of had to encourage him to do that, but I don't blame him. Hey man, you're trying to kill my people, and now you want me to shake this guy's hand? But they finally did. But I don't remember how long after that he remained alive, but just the mindless stupidity of these terrorists, you know, following a mindless resolution. And you know what? That resolution has been the biggest hindrance to the peace process. Because they don't want to negotiate, recognize, or make peace. And so, yeah, it's hindered almost everything. Because they live by those mindless words, you know?
Now, when was, they took the Golan Heights in 48? Is that when they captured the Golan Heights? Because they're so strategic.
No, I think they took the Golan Heights in 67.
67, okay. They kept them.
Yep.
They're still keeping them because from there to Tel Aviv isn't very far.
Yeah, it isn't.
And the high ground, taking and holding the high ground is important.
Yep.
That's why they're fighting over that.
Well, after 67, Israel's borders expanded outward like 40%.
Right.
So they always have to be aware of what's going on, right? And, you know, these fools, right? These people that say, Israel's the villain. You know, they're murdering all these poor Palestinians. You know, really? Get your head screwed on straight. Israel's not the terrorist nation here. It's the Palestinians, Hamas, Qatar, Fatah, Hezbollah, ISIS. They're the murderers, okay? And you know what? Even some of the Palestinians are tired of all this. They want to see it end. I don't blame them. I mean, Israel's literally a war zone. You know? And I know God says that his people are going to all come back to the nation of Israel eventually. And we see that happening right now. But not all of them right now want to return. I don't blame them. They have businesses here, family. You know, everything they do and everything they have is here. Why should they give that up? That's what they're thinking is, why should I give this up and go live in a war zone?
Well, their sons, if they're eligible, they're going to the IDF, and their daughters.
Now some of those Jewish teenagers from here, they actually do move back to Israel.
Make Aliyah.
Yeah,
They go into the IDF.
Yeah, make Aliyah, and they go right into the IDF.
Right.
Because they know, you know, this is important. We have to defend our nation. You know, it's unfortunate, man, but you know, I just read. I think it was last week. 50,000 people have already died because of the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack. And I'm sure that's not just 50,000 people on the Palestinian side. That's both sides. That's awful. 50,000 people that didn't need to die, but because Hamas had been planning this attack for quite a number of years. I was reading, they kept bragging, we're going to destroy Israel, we're going to come after them, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I read that many, many times. Well, they finally struck. October 7, 2023. They finally struck and killed 1,200 people in a single day. That's just outrageous. You know what? The Jewish community had not lost that many people in a single day outside of the Holocaust. That was the first time in Jewish history outside of the Holocaust that many Jews had died in a single day.
You know, they have a saying over there, never again.
Yeah, never again, yeah.
Right. We're going to just walk into, you know, the gas chambers. We're going to fight.
Yep, that's right.
That's their motto. They attack, attack, attack. You kill one of us, we're going to kill 10 of you.
Yep. But I don't blame them.
Right.
You know, these fools that say that Israel doesn't have a right to defend themselves, yeah, they do. I mean, look at Ukraine, right? When Putin attacked, what was the first thing they did? They started defending themselves. So if you're attacked and there's no reason for it, just because somebody wants to kill you and take your land, you have the right to fight back and defend your land.
Well, just under the UN, they're supposed to have that right.
Yeah, but where is the UN in all this? The UN doesn't do anything.
They're anti-Israel.
Yep, they're anti-Israel, but they haven't even tried to settle the problem with Ukraine and Russia. Because the simple truth is they just want to sit in their big plush offices and get paid for doing nothing.
Yeah, like a paper tiger.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's all they are, you know, just useless. UN, useless nothings.
Well, this is the fourth one. How does Israel's economy compare to other countries in the region? You want me to say it again?
Well, no. Well, Israel's economy does great when the tourism is up. But when it's down, so is the economy. The other thing they have to fall back on is the technology. See, Israel doesn't have vast amounts of oil like many of those 20 Arab nations
Well, they
have.
have natural gas now in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, but your car doesn't run on natural gas. Right now, cars still run on oil, even though they're trying to switch that in the next 10 years and either make them, I think, water run, hydrogen, or electric. But right now, cars still depend on gas. And where do you get the gas from? Well, you got to convert the oil into, some usable thing for your car. So Israel doesn't have that. So they can only depend on the tourism, the technology, and selling fruit.
And flowers.
And flowers.
From a desert.
Yep.
It was a desert.
Exactly. So, like the Bible says in the book of Isaiah, the desert would blossom like a rose, and it has.
Right.
So they have those three things, but I think their basic staple has always been tourism. And I don't know what the tourist trade is like right now with the war going on in Gaza between Israel and Hamas, but I'm sure it's not too good.
Well, even during the last war with Gaza, when we were there, place was empty.
Oh,
No waiting. The hotels were empty. The restaurants were empty. Shopping was great.
I bet.
We got good deals. And it was one of the best trips we ever went on, except for a couple of rockets flying around.
Yep. Well, that's what happens. Again, why don't people want to go there? It's a war zone.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting it from the Strip, then you're getting it from Lebanon, who they fire their missiles into northern Israel, and missiles used to come in to southern Israel from the Gaza Strip, but I don't know if that's true anymore because so much of the infrastructure inside the Strip has been destroyed.
Right.
And where else did you say it came from? Elah?
From Egypt,
Oh, Egypt.
the Egyptian Brotherhood.
I never.
You got that country that we were fighting with, that Iran was supporting, right there in the Red Sea. That country fired some missiles at Israel, long-range missiles.
Kuwait?
No. I'll think of it in a minute. But Iran gave them all the missiles. It's over there by the Gulf. That country, by Saudi Arabia, the one that Saudis were fighting. Yemen are right in there.
Oh, Yemen.
Right in there. They fired missiles at Israel. So Israel attacked them.
Well, I'm not
With
surprised.
F-35s.
I'm not surprised that Iran, because Iran has supplied Egypt with tons. Oh no, it's Russia. Russia has supplied Egypt with tons of weapons, but Iran.
Including a tank.
Yep. But Iran, that doesn't surprise me that they do the same thing. They're the ones saying that they're going to build. I don't know if they built it, an atomic warhead, and we're going to blast Israel off the face of the map. Well, you know what God's going to
Probably
do?
close.
He's just going to turn that missile around and send it right back to Iran. Yep.
It was the Houthis. The Houthis were firing all those missiles into the Red Sea because of what was happening in Gaza, and the U.S. Navy got caught in the middle of that. Shooting down all these missiles, and they sunk a container ship in the Red Sea. So that was a mess over there.
Well, see, when war breaks out over there between these murdering terrorists and Israel, it's going to touch more than just people's lives on land. Yeah, because it normally does go out to the Mediterranean, and you got all these people involved. Oh my, it's just a big mess. It always has been.
Right. Well, the way I see it is, if they're true believers in America, I don't care if there's a war there or not, I would go, just to support Israel.
No, but the problem is finding an airline that'll take you
Oh,
there.
right, that's right.
Well, El Al.
LL. It's probably the only airline right
Yeah.
now that's
Right.
going to Israel.
Like when we went, Obama closed the airport there, or we couldn't go in there for 24 hours. And then we was able to get in there. So, right, they lifted it just as we went in, got in, then
There was a ceasefire, and right after we left, they started fighting again.
when the rockets start flying again.
Well, it's like what's going on right now, right? Israel and Hamas agreed to a ceasefire. It was all right for about a week, I guess. But then Hamas didn't want to keep their word and release the remaining prisoners. So Israel said, well, okay, we're just going to go back to bombing you then. And they did. Okay.
Well, Dave, that's, we covered some modern day Israel after doing ancient Israel. That's a lot of material, but at least give people an idea of what's happening right now with modern day Israel. And
Not seeing Israel as the bad guy all the time. You got to see both sides here. What's going on?
Yep, they have a right to defend themselves.
and went back and covered ancient Israel, why they have a right to call that their land. We went all the way back to Abraham.
Yep.
You know. So thank you for that.